Vice President Azay Guliyev is the first speaker.
Dear friends, dear colleagues, first of all, let me greet all of you from Baku. It is nice to see so many friends that we have been working for many years. Particularly, I'd like to congratulate my old friend Ken Herstad for assuming such an important position, being an ambassador for the next chairmanship. Of course, I also want to wish all the best to our Swiss friends for the next year's endeavor. I also want to appreciate today's speech made by our friend President Sereteli about the relationship between PA and the executive power, as well as the roles that the organization needs to be play in an appropriate and in an effective way. I do share the critics or some the weaknesses that President Sereteli underlined, because this is a really right time to speak loudly and to find out the way of let's say, putting forward some important issues, also to address the issues that we are facing with. This is why, in the light of today's topics and today's discussions, I'd like also be a bit critical to the activities of the Assembly as well as the OSCE in general. Dear friends, as you know that also our previous speakers touched upon the issue related to the protracted conflicts in the OSCE area and the way of addressing these protracted conflicts. This is why I'd like to just touch upon and say something why today our diplomacy are failed to properly, to effectively address the issue related to the protracted conflicts, why the OSCE is not enough capable to resolve all these conflicts and to play the predominant role in the, as I said, effectively addressing these issues. I think there are some reasons. If you allow me, I'd like to shortly explain 3 reasons of failure of the diplomacy on the example of the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict and try to find some answer to these legitimate questions. According to my understanding, the first reason that is the OSCE and its Parliamentary Assembly on many occasions failed to address equally and fairly all illegal military occupation and aggression taking place in the OSCE area by one participating country against another one, as a matter of fact. In cases of Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova, we had always witnessed that the fact of occupation of their territories was reflected in all relevant documents and resolutions of the OSCE, which is good, of course, I fully support them. But when it came to the occupied territories of Azerbaijan, which is also deserved to be mentioned in all relevant documents, for some unjustified and unacceptable reasons, the OSCE and the Assembly refrained from mentioning the obvious case, naming Armenia as occupant state, despite the relevant resolutions of the United Nations. Of course, I had a feeling that there is a sort of a notion of good occupant or bad occupant for the OSCE and Assembly. The second reason is that the OSCE and its Assembly, in connection with Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict, failed to properly demonstrate its adherence to the norms and the principles of international law, particularly the ones regarding the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and inviolability of the internationally recognized borders of the Republic of Azerbaijan. I very well remember how much effort I spent to convince the Bureau as a vice president of the Assembly and as well as the head of the Azerbaijan delegation. I tried to convince Bureau President and the Secretary General that to be impartial and to make due reference in our statements to the relevant UN Security Council resolutions, unambiguously supporting Azerbaijan's territorial integrity and political sovereignty, and also put forward those resolutions as a basic principles on which conflict must be settled. Unfortunately, Roberta, I'm just trying to explain that the reason that the diplomacy is failing but the reason that stands behind that. I know that it is not, of course, maybe someone dislikes these critics, but it is the case that we should be ready to accept all the challenges and to prepare ourselves for the future plan of action that we really call OSCE for the decisive actions. And the third reason, very briefly, if you allow me, that I'd like to say that this is the impunity of aggressor country. It is very much appreciated that OSCE and the other countries put some sanctions on the countries who violate international legal norms by attacking on the other countries. But when it comes to Armenia, unfortunately, we didn't see any such cases. So at the end, in conclusion, dear friends, I'd like to emphasize that from now, OSCE should give a proper assessment to these historical lessons. I do sincerely hope that PA and the other relevant OSCE institutions will come hand in hand to address properly these issues and to refrain from double standards and the selective approaches. I know that it is an issue that really is painful for the Assembly, and I do believe that under the chairmanship of the Swiss government, we will have totally different approach towards these issues, these conflicts. And of course, I do hope that Assembly and the leadership of Assembly also will take the good note of the criticism that comes from the member countries. Thank you, Roberto. Sorry for being a bit more, but it is the reality that I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you.